If you find that your makeup tends to slide off your nose or your chin or whatever you do, it doesn't seem to stay put, today's video is for you. Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Makeup coming off the nose is just one of those things that happens to so many of us, and at the risk of summarising this big long video right here and now, the key is that ultimately it is going to happen, and really it's about prepping your skin really well with the right skincare and remembering to bring a little bit of makeup out with you so you can top up through the night. I'm not saying you have to bring your whole makeup bag, but the difference it can make if you just have a touch of concealer and a bit of powder in your bag is phenomenal, and you'll notice it in your photos. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description today, so if you click to make the video full screen, the title will come up along the top, click the arrow next to it and a full list of everything I've used will drop down. But by all means, you don't have to buy anything new. A lot of what I'm going to share with you today is more tips and techniques and things that you could probably do with whatever you've already got in your makeup bag and hopefully get better results. So I hope you enjoy. Just a quick one before I begin, that is a little patch of eczema that always flares up, in case you're looking at me thinking you've had a reaction or what's happened. I'm used to it. Usually it's the kind of thing that when it flares up, I either won't put any videos up for a few days or I'll let it die down, but I'm just not going to put any makeup around it and crack on, because I've got loads of things I wanted to kind of show you and discuss today. So in terms of getting your makeup to really last, I think for me, the first thing I would say, I'm not always someone that gravitates towards primer. I really think that if you prep with the right skincare for you, that's going to be a huge step in getting your makeup to last really well. Because the minute your skin feels dry or dehydrated, it will try and absorb the moisture from whatever you put on. So let's say your foundation, if it absorbs some of the moisture from that, it will leave the rest of it quite patchy. So the first step is really important. For me, my skin is naturally a bit more dry, a bit more rough to the touch, and I love a really kind of hydrated skin look. So I'm going to use something really buttery. I'm going to start with Sali Hughes' Cream Drench. Now this is, think of like a really traditional moisturiser, almost like the old cold creams. It's really lovely, let me pull this down, rich buttery moisturiser, beautiful under your makeup, and for me it's rich enough that it really quenches any kind of dryness and means that my foundation can just glide straight over it. Now, one of the things that I was asked when I first shared this the other day, I've been using this moisturiser now since whenever I got it, maybe end of, what month are we now? May, end of April I would have had it. There is a lovely fragrance to everything, and that was something that Sali really deliberately put in, because she was saying like she loves that your evening routine is a bit of a pamper. But interestingly, like Sali isn't a huge fan of essential oils. She just feels that they can be quite irritating when they're not used in the right way. And so she chose to use a synthetic fragrance so that you get to enjoy that kind of sensorial experience. But because it's synthetic, it's nowhere near as risky for a sensitive skin as, let's say, an essential oil based fragrance would be. Now, everyone's different, and you know, everyone has different things that they need from their skin or triggers, and you know me, I'm the first one to say I try and avoid fragrance where possible. But because this was done in such a considered way, like I was super excited to try it, and I have to say I've been using that for a couple of weeks, and you know, my skin loves it. I get on really well with it. And the nice thing with it as well, like you can see how buttery that was, but it has really sunken in. If you're getting ready in a rush and you want something really hydrating that you don't have to wait all morning for it to settle in, it's going to be a lovely one. If you've got more of an oily skin, you'd probably prefer something oil-free, something in more of a lightweight gel texture. I'd probably say something like the Cosmetics Confidence in a Gel Lotion that just feels like a real kind of drink of water for the skin. And again, it gives you that completely hydrated finish that your foundation can glide on top of. Now for my complexion, I'm going to give you a little look at the IT Cosmetics CC Nude Glow. This is coming this summer, sometime before August, I believe, but I don't have an exact date yet. This week I've put up loads of quick videos, like 60-second reels videos, say. You can only fit so much into that time, so I kind of want to go into a bit more detail about some of the things that I've shown you. Now, when it comes to getting your makeup to last all day, what I would say is, and I'm going to use the Complexion Perfection brush to put this on. That came up this week. Liz, you said to me, sorry, just quickly, if there is one brush, if I recommended you one brush out of anything, what would I recommend? It would be the IT Cosmetics Complexion Perfection brush. Dare I say, if you haven't tried anything from IT Cosmetics before, I'd nearly tell you to get that before any of the CC creams. And the reason being, you will use that with everything you've already got, and it just gives you the most flawless, lovely finish to your foundation. Getting your makeup to last all day. In research for this video, I went next door and I looked through my makeup cupboards, went through all of my foundations. I've got different foundations based on, you know, what I wear for myself, what's in my kit. Because let's say if I was packing a kit for a shoot or a bride or whatever it is, you've got all of these different eventualities in your head. How much coverage someone is going to want, what kind of wear they want. Do they want it to be fresh and dewy? Do they want it to be full coverage matte? You've got all of these different options. There is nothing that I found when I was looking through my drawers that I believe you could leave the house at 8 or 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time you're leaving, and come home at the end of the day and it looks exactly the same as when you applied it without any touch-ups. And the reason I say that is, like, I speak to so many people that ask me what they're doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? I'm using this, that, the other. I'm applying it this way. I've got these great things. And you know what? It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just that our skin, it's going to get hot through the day, or you're going to get a bit sweaty, or you've been rushing around, or there's so many things, and it's going to move a bit. And it's not that you've done something, but there's two things you can do here. You can find something that you like the way it wears through the day, or you can bring some powder and concealer or whatever it is and touch up through the day. And I think for a majority of people, they want that completely flawless look all day, in which case get something tiny to put in your bag and top up as you go along. You'll get into the habit of it. I know a majority of people I speak to are like, oh, what a nightmare. Like when I have these conversations with my friends, they're just like, why do I have to do that? That's so annoying. I know it is, but like if you're out for the day, you are going to pop to the bathroom a few times. Just get in the habit, bring it with you. Quick touch up down the T-zone. The T-zone in particular is a good one. You will get into the habit of it and your makeup will feel great. Just quickly returning to the CC Nude Glow. Is that not just the nicest thing? So basically, I always say to people with the Cosmetics CC cream, it is this completely full coverage, but it barely looks like any makeup. However, not everyone needs a completely full coverage. So for me, with the redness, it's ideal, perfect. To be honest with you, I think this is absolutely lovely, but I know the amount of redness I have, my kind of everyday go-to will still be the original CC cream. But this one, if you didn't have anything major that you wanted to cover, it just looks like healthy, well-rested skin. I think you're going to absolutely love it. That is the shade Light, by the way. Now, let's think about getting your makeup to last all day. I'm going to avoid my eyes because of, you know, the obvious. This level of makeup is lovely, fresh, healthy. I would need to set it with powder. When you have redness, I need you to troubleshoot what's going to happen before it happens. To do this, I'm going to use one of the Bobbi Brown concealer sticks. These are new. They actually have correctors as well as concealers. So for example, this more peachy tone, in fact, I'll show you this around my eye, is great for kind of colour correcting. And then the concealer stick is great for general, you know, concealing, adding coverage on the go. Get yourself something like that little stick. I know I'm using a brush here, but I may as well because I've got it to hand. if you took that tiny stick in your handbag with you and whenever you went to the bathroom, just did a little top up around the nose area, that's the kind of thing that is going to keep your makeup looking fresh and flawless all day. I also think it's imperative to set with powder depending on what you're setting, but we'll come on to that. But basically, let me show you this tiny touch of a stick. Now, if you were out on the go, I asked in a question sticker the other day, what would you like to have a chat through or see a video on? I can't even recall the amount of responses that said my makeup comes off the end of my nose. And you know what it is? It's a number of things. First of all, I do acknowledge that because I've got rosacea and I'm talking about it a lot, that is a condition. You might be hearing you don't have rosacea, so for the benefit of you, it's a skin condition that causes kind of redness and texture and thickening in the skin, and it makes the skin quite hot to the touch. Now, the best way I can kind of explain this to you in terms of your makeup is if you'd made a cake and then you made the sponge and then you wanted to put your icing on. Let's say you've got two halves, you put your icing straight onto this one the minute it comes out of the oven, and I've taken my hand out of the frame, so that's not helpful at all. This one, you leave it half an hour to cool down. The icing will just sit there and stay where you've put it, and that's great. Happy birthday, put your message on, brilliant. This icing will go runny. It's kind of going to go everywhere. It will spill a bit. Unfortunately, if you've got a lot of redness or hot skin, that side of the cake with the icing going straight on it when it's hot is kind of what's going to happen with your makeup. And so it's nothing to be alarmed about, but we need to know about this and prep it in advance so that A, we're going to set with powder to try and lock it into place as best we can, and B, we're going to bring something small in our makeup bags so that when it's slided off or moved, you can just top it up a tiny bit. Key areas that I find that everyone seems to find their makeup is going walkabouts, the nose, #1 contender. I wish, the thing with the question stickers is it shows your username if you've asked it. So I don't want to, you know, in case someone didn't want their name attributed to the question, I don't want to put it up. When I was going through today, I love saving those down because I'll just work through them for videos. I couldn't believe the amount that said my makeup is coming off my nose, what's going on. Nose and chin are really big ones. Another thing I would say is the T-zone in general. Like when you're looking at me now, predominantly, let's be honest, you might be looking at my eczema, but like you are looking at the centre of my face. So if I top that up and keep that looking really flawless, I really highly doubt that if we're across having a bite to eat from one another, that you're like paying attention to all of this area. You're just going to notice here. And that's another reason why I'm just going to show you with my powder. This is the It Cosmetics by Pores. I would love to tell you where that brush is from. It's years old and it's one of my favourite brushes. And I remember it was very, very cheap. If I were to give you one that is also very affordable, this is the Peaches PC03. It's going to do the same kind of job. Look now, if I just powder the T-zone, if everywhere else is still radiant, the T-zone being powdered just gives the illusion that you are healthy, not sweaty. It's a really crucial part of your face to set the tone for how your makeup appears or how you feel as well. Let's just say you've caught a load of trains, you get in the tube, you're running after your children, whatever it is. This area can look sweaty quite quickly, and this as well. Let's say you're going to someone's wedding, top that up when you go to the bathroom. That is the thing where like you'll stay on the good side of healthy looking. So a big long way around it to say, if things are sliding off, it's actually quite normal. And I know it's annoying, but the best thing you can do is top up as you go along. Because the thing is, right, say with that CC cream, I love that fresh, healthy finish. And ultimately, with a tiny bit of topping up as I go along, I can keep it fresh and healthy all day. While I go into this with you, I'm going to just put my Brow Power pencil on in the shade Universal Taupe. The thing is, you could wear a really long wear, matte, full coverage that's not going to move all day, but like that might feel loads heavier than you actually want it to be. So you've kind of got two choices. Do you want this really, really heavy foundation for the sake of not having to touch it up all day? Or do you want to look nice and light and fresh for the sake of like a few seconds here and there of little zhuzhes? I mean, by all means, you might prefer something that you don't have to touch all day. But for me, the little payoff of needing a bit of maintenance means that I get to wear something fresher. I'd rather take that end of the bargain. Now, another question that came up, Kelly, you asked me a really interesting one, and you said your makeup seems to sit on your skin rather than sinking in. This is such a good one. First and foremost, I would say, if this is you and you want your makeup to sit a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, naturally, or feel like it's absorbed a bit better, that kind of feeling can often come with dry skin. So see if using a slightly richer moisturiser can help your skin to feel a bit more comfortable, which would in turn help your makeup to settle in that bit more naturally. If you can, because I know not everyone can, in particular if you're here because you've got redness or rosacea, this next step might not be right for you. But if you can, exfoliate a few times a week, and just the removal of those kind of harder dead skin cells will help everything sit a bit more smoothly. I'm just going to press in my bronzer while I explain this to you. Depending on what you're going for, like I personally like my makeup to sit on my skin, and the reason being I need a lot of coverage with the redness, and if I rub it in too much, it just removes the coverage rather than building it up. So depending on your skin type, the makeup sitting on your skin might not be the worst thing. And again, a lot of this is biased towards having redness, but like one of the things that we all get told is to blend, 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 isn't it? Whereas whenever I'm speaking to anyone with redness, I'm like, don't do that. Pat and tap and kind of let your makeup sit there, because we want it to cover. We don't want to rub it in to the point where we can't see it anymore. So I feel like I've answered your question, and you've probably got 50 more questions after that. Have I got a bit of bronzer in my hair? That's probably right as well. But just if it is sitting on top, it might not be the worst thing. The one thing I would say is, if that's how your makeup feels, try not to touch your face too much, because it could be prone to sliding off, and set it with powder. Now, to quickly revisit something else I mentioned in a video this week, I really want you to feel like if you've got redness, you can still wear blusher. One of my favourite little discoveries is this peachy colour from Beauty Pie. Now, I'm just going to pat this onto the skin, but it's a really lightweight texture. Oh gosh, I've put a bit too much there. There we go. Really lightweight texture. And I think if you're someone like me, my redness is actually a bit textured. So the last thing I want is to add more texture to an area that already potentially has slightly raised skin. This peachy just adds a bit of lift to your complexion, but it's not too full. And the fact that it's peach, I was saying the other day that I think sometimes when you've got a lot of redness, it can feel out of your control. You feel a bit, like it's wearing you. Whereas if you knock it out where you don't want to see it and put that colour back in yourself, and something like peach that isn't what your skin usually looks like, it kind of feels like you're in charge again, and you get to call the shots about where that colour is and how it looks. I'm going to put a tiny bit of this on my cheeks, just the excess. And then I'm going to go over that with a little bit of liner. Two favourite new discoveries I wanted to show you, the Vive highlighter brush and the Rare Beauty highlighter. That shape of a brush is something that I've got years worth of brushes in my kit and I don't have anything else in that shape. I think it's really lovely. And then Rare in general as a brand, I just really think they're absolutely lovely. One of the things I learned about them recently is that the packaging is slightly larger because Selena herself has arthritis and she wanted everything to be really user friendly. I'm just going to apply, what's the name of this one? Mesmerize. It's a kind of rose gold. Tip for you actually, if you're ever looking at highlighters and you don't know which colour to go for, rose gold is a colour that will flatter every skin tone, whether you're super fair, whether you've got deeper skin, it just will melt really seamlessly into all skin tones. Now, just a quick one, if you've got any kind of issue with your skin, whether it's redness, rosacea, eczema, whatever it might be, I would really thoroughly recommend that you see a doctor, have a one-to-one consultation, make sure you're taking steps that work for you and find the right solution for your skin. I'm going to use a little bit of the Clinique High Impact Mascara. Now, this is a tubing mascara. I'm going to make a separate video on tubing mascaras because this is another thing that came up an awful lot. Ultimately, tubing mascaras are slightly different and they wrap the lashes in a rubbery polymer. So they crumble off, they don't kind of, you know, when your mascara runs, you don't get any of that because it's like a wrapping technology rather than tinting it with pigment. The easiest way I could say it to you is when you come to remove a normal mascara versus a tubing, you will just have a completely different experience. But that in mind, because this crumbles away just with water and it's not necessarily inky, I wear this if I want to wear makeup and my eye is flared up because it's not going to print on my eye and I can actually crumble it downwards without going anywhere near that. So I'm going to put some mascara on. And I think I'm just going to leave it at the top and leave the bottom nice and fresh. But one last thing I'm going to do that I would really recommend on the nose area around here is take a tiny brush out with you for doing your powder. This is the Vive Small Eyeshadow Blender. You don't need a huge brush if you're only going to troubleshoot these certain areas. When it comes to the end of the nose, this is what I want you to do. Put your concealer on or whatever you're using. And again, just to emphasise, this happens to so many people, it's not just you. And I know it's a bit annoying, but I'd rather just explain that you can have flawless makeup all day, rather than just be like, oh, it's a shame, isn't it, that it comes off. Do you know, there is a way around it. So I'm patting that in rather than rubbing. And we've got a nice coverage there. Then same kind of thing, powder, we're patting it in. I'm not trying to emphasise the finish from the powder. I'm trying to emphasise the patting motion of what I'm doing here. At the end of the day, a camera is not as clear as me in real life and it never comes up as clear as I can see it. But also, to be honest, this kind of technique of densely packing a powder into these areas will give you a very smooth finish. It's temporary, it's not going to last you all night, none of these things are, but it does have that effect. But I appreciate that there is a lot of skepticism and I'd rather just address that here and now. I know it looks kind of too good to be true, but another thing I would also say is feel free to pop to any counter and try these things on. I know it's not the same when you see things online, but like as someone that worked on a beauty floor for years, they love to see you come in. They love having someone come up that likes the same things, has seen something, wants to chat. So go and try any of these things in real life before you make a commitment to them. And also, while I'm sharing that actually, don't feel like you've got to buy new things. If you've got a setting powder, if you've got a concealer, if you've got a small brush, you probably have loads of things at home that you can use and just try these techniques with what's in your makeup bag. This really isn't about spending money on a load of new things. It's more that if you change the habit or the application technique, you might have a completely different finish from your makeup. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I know I've probably made your going out bag a little bit heavier, but I promise you it'll be worth it because you'll get that lovely lasting finish from your makeup. But enjoy the rest of your day and I'll chat to you very soon.